Nyerere Lecturer 2026, Professor Zachariah Mampil of the Maxey School of Public and International Affairs, City University of New York, Professor Alexander Makulilo, Mwalimu Nyerere Chair of Pan-African Studies at the University of Dar es Salaam, Professor Issa Shivji, Professor Emeritus and former Chair, Professor Lekaza Mkandala, former Vice Chancellor of the University of Dar es Salaam and former Mwalimu Nyerere Chair of Pan-African Studies, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors, High Commissioners, and members of the Diplomatic Corps, Professor Lozio Paul, Deputy Vice Chancellor responsible for Academic Affairs, Professor Benedetta Kilian Mchapwaya, Deputy Vice Chancellor responsible for Planning, Finance, and Administration, Professor Nelson Boniface, Deputy Vice Chancellor responsible for Research and Innovation, Dr. Daniel Shayo, Acting Chief Corporate Counsel and Secretary to Council, Catherine Voss, Director, Rosa Lazenberg Foundation, East Africa, Professor Yunus Mgaya, former Deputy Vice Chancellor, PFA, and Professor Emeritus, representatives of the Director General NSSCF, representative of the Resident Director Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, leaders and representatives of higher education institutions, representatives from government and public institutions, the private sector, international organizations, civil servant, religious communities, and community groups, invited speakers, moderators, scholars, researchers, and students, members of the press and the media, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, habari ya asubuhi, bonjour. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to the University of Dar es Salaam for the opening of the Mwalimu Nyerere Intellectual Festival 2026. I'm honored to join you this very morning as we begin the 17th edition of this important annual gathering, which the university has continued to hold since the establishment of the Mwalimu Nyerere Professorial Chair in Pan-African Studies. I wish to welcome you in a very special way to the Mwalimu Julius Nyerere Mlimani campus, the main campus of the University of Dar es Salaam. It is fitting that we gather here for a festival held in the name of Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, who, as the first President of the United Republic of Tanzania and the first Chancellor of the University of Dar es Salaam, played a pivotal role in the early development of the University of Dar es Salaam following its establishment in 1961. Ladies and gentlemen, that this festival has continued over so many years is in itself important. It shows the university's continuing commitment to providing a forum where scholars, students, leaders, and the wider public may come together to reflect on Africa, its place in the world, and the direction it must take in the years ahead. It also shows the value that the university attaches to sustained intellectual engagement on issues of continental significance through the Mwalimu Nyerere Professorial Chair in Pan-African Studies. This festival is also important to the University of Dar es Salaam itself. It reflects the place of this university as a leading forum for critical thought and public engagement on issues of national, continental, and global significance. That tradition is not new. The University of Dar es Salaam has long been recognized as an important center of critical African scholarship and debate, including the 1970s, when ideas associated with the Dar es Salaam School helped shape wider intellectual discussions on the history, political economy, liberation, and development in Africa. That heritage continues to remind us that this university must remain a place where important questions are examined seriously and with intellectual courage. As we continue to pursue our long-term institutional aspiration under Vision 2061, we remain conscious that a great university must do more than produce graduates and research outputs. It must also help society think, question, interpret change, and imagine the future with seriousness and confidence. This year's festival is convened under the theme Geopolitics, Development, and New Visions for Africa. This is a timely and important theme. We are living in a period of major changes in the world. The global order is increasingly shifting from a largely unipolar structure towards a more not simply to be spoken about, but to speak for itself, act for itself, and shape its own future. In many ways, this is consistent with the aspiration of Agenda 2063 and with the wider continental push for integration and transformation reflected in the African continent free trade area. This is why this year's festival matters. It gives us an opportunity to pause, reflect, and ask serious questions about the moment in which Africa now finds itself. It also reminds us that universities have an important role to play in helping society think more clearly about the future, especially in times of changes and uncertainties. Distinguished participants, the University of Dar es Salaam is proud to host this event through the Mwalimu Nyerere Professorial Chair in Pan-African Studies. Since its establishment, the chair has provided an important platform for reflection on Africa, Pan-Africanism, leadership, development, and social transformation. The festival has remained one of the most visible and meaningful ways through which that responsibility is carried forward. The flow of events prepared for this year's festival reflects that wider purpose. From the inaugural lecture and the distinguished lecture to keynote addresses, plenary discussions, round book discussion, the program has been structured not simply as a sequence of activities, but as a progression of ideas. It brings together reflection, debate, evidence, intergenerational exchange, and public conversations. That, in my view, is part of what gives this festival its continuing significance. At this important moment, allow me also to recognize the transition in the leadership of the chair. I warmly congratulate Professor Alexander Makulilo upon his upon his appointment as the new Mwalimu Nyerere Professor and Chair in Pan-African Studies. At the same time, I wish to express sincere appreciation to Professor Lwekaza Mkandala for his dedicated service and valuable contribution during his term. The university remains grateful for the commitment and the leadership with which he carried this important obligation. Although this year's theme is not centered exclusively on Mwalimu Nyerere, his thought and public example remain relevant to many of the conversations before us. His commitment to African unity, dignity, self-reliance, justice, and people-centered development continues to speak to major questions that Africa must confront today. In that sense, this festival honors his legacy, not simply by recalling his name, but by engaging seriously with the matters that continue to shape Africa's future. I'm also particularly pleased that this festival continues to bring together established scholars, policymakers, institutional leaders, and younger generations of thinkers and students. That the intergenerational character matters because the future of Africa will not be shaped by one generation alone. It must be thought through, debated, and built across generations with the openness of mind and the seriousness of purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm also particularly pleased to welcome this year's distinguished lecturer, whose connection with the University of Salaam gives this occasion a special significance. I therefore encourage all participants to take full advantage of this festival. Let us use it to reflect seriously, to exchange ideas openly, and to deepen our understanding of the issues that continue to shape Africa's present and future. It is my hope that the conversations we begin here will not end with this festival, but will continue to inform scholarship, policy reflection, institutional collaboration, and the wider search for Africa's future. I wish in a very special way to commend the organizers of this festival for the dedication and effort that have gone into preparing this year's event. I also extend our sincere appreciation to all sponsors and supporting institutions of this festival. Their support reflects the growing strength of the university's collaboration with the stakeholders who recognize the value of scholarship, dialogue, and ideas in advancing society. It also shows how important strong university stakeholder linkages have become in supporting initiatives of national and continental significance. I further thank our speakers, moderators, participants, and all those whose contributions have made the preparation of this year's festival very possible. Esteemed guests, to all our guests from within and outside Tanzania, I say karibuni sana. We are honored by your presence at the University of Salaam, and we trust that your participation will enrich this festival and strengthen our collective reflection. I also hope that our guests will, as time permits, have an opportunity to visit the University of Salaam Museum, located here on the campus, which offers an important window into the history and the heritage of this institution. I further hope that your stay in Tanzania will give you an opportunity to experience some of the many attractions that our country has to offer. With these few remarks, it is now my pleasure to officially open the Mwalimu Nyerere Intellectual Festival 2026 and to wish you all fruitful deliberations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor, for the opening remarks. May I now invite Professor Bernadette Killian, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Planning, Finance, and Administration, to present the citation of the Mwalimu